welcome back to our channel. So something really exciting happened. We are over 1,000 subscribers, and so we are almost at like that fun milestone with YouTube to be able to monetize our channel, and I'm so excited. You guys have been loving our gender reveal video that we posted back in October, and you know, our birth story, and I'm just like so thankful for you guys. Your comments have been like so sweet, and I'm just so thankful you guys are loving it. It was definitely an emotional moment in our gender reveal. I just wanted to touch on that because it was just crazy and very unexpected, obviously, but I can't believe she's here, and it's just funny, like, you know, looking back at those, and like I seriously did not trust that we were still having a girl until she came out. So I kind of wanted to do a little part 2 of our birth story because there were like little details that I didn't really get to talk about or that we didn't show on the camera. You know, toward the end I said things picked up like real quick because I was like 6 centimeters, and then basically all of a sudden I was 10 centimeters, like so fast. Like my mom didn't make it and all the things, and it was just, yeah, it was pretty crazy. But I figured I'd sit down and show you guys, or talk to you guys about the rest of our birth story. So as you saw, we did a little sweet name reveal for baby girl. Her name is London Noelle, and it's just a name that we've had picked out for over 6 years, I guess, because I definitely thought I was having a girl with my second baby. We had a boy name picked out and a girl name picked out in case we had a girl, and we just like loved this name. And so honestly, we stuck with it. We kind of like went through a few middle names, but a few years ago, we ultimately landed on, if we ever had a girl, we would name her London Noelle. Noelle is Mac's sister's middle name, and so she can have the same middle name as her aunt. And I believe my mom actually wanted to use the name Noelle as a first name if my brother was a girl, because he was born in December, and so she was like, if she had a December baby that was a girl, she was gonna name her Noelle. And it's just a really pretty and special name, and it's just so surreal to like actually finally be using it. So we just got back from a road trip, so we'll do like a fun road trip vlog. We were gone for 10 days, so I'm probably gonna split it into like 2 or 3 videos, so it's not like crazy long. But I realized like most of the way through the trip we had like not really shown her in any of the videos, so it's kind of funny, but hopefully I'll be able to insert a little bit of a few sweet like just clips of her over the last few weeks. She's 8 weeks old. She'll be 2 months on Saturday, and yeah, I just figured I'd finally sit down and do the other half of her birth story. If you guys don't know, my second baby, he was born a month early. Surprisingly, he didn't have any complications, no NICU stay or anything. So we're just like always on high alert, especially on like the last month. I've never had a baby that was late from like 25 weeks or so. My midwife and I had discussed getting induced at 39 weeks, mainly because she knew how fast my labors went. So like I mentioned, basically after my water broke for my 3rd and 4th babies, my kids were here within the hour. And so my labors have gone like super fast, and so we were just kind of like wanting to be prepared and be ready to like be at the hospital, so I didn't like give birth in the car or at home. And so this was the plan, because my quick labors, and because we felt that it would be like safer and more predictable if I was induced at 39 weeks instead of going into labor naturally and then like the baby coming too quickly. However, you know, 39 weeks is like the soonest they will do an elective induction, and I had only made it past 39 weeks like once. Also, my due date, so like 40 weeks, my midwife was going to be on vacation. The way that our hospital does it is you just get like whatever midwife is on call or on shift that night or whatever, and So after 4 babies, I had not had my midwife, which was unfortunate because I had the same midwife for every single pregnancy. But the previous 4, I did not have her there. So we're like, okay, if we plan this induction, then my midwife can be there and she'll make it before she goes on vacation. And so we just had a lot of things planning on that. And so we got to my 36-week appointment, my 37-week appointment, and then my 38-week appointment, and I was basically like 1 to 2 centimeters every single one of those appointments. And she was like, okay, so they won't let me do an elective induction unless you're like a 4, which, I mean, I've only been a 4 when I've been like in full-on active labor. Anyway, they were gonna let me do it because of just my circumstances with my previous labors. However, when it came down to it, like at my 38-week appointment, my midwife was like, okay, so they changed the rules, and because of COVID and just because there's a lot of pregnancies and labors right now, they're not gonna let you get induced. And I was like so defeated because I was like, I so wanted my midwife to be there. I wanted it planned. If you follow me on Instagram or my blog, like I talk a lot about like my mental health and anxiety and stuff, especially, you know, since last like early 2020. And like this whole pregnancy was just like filled with anxiety. I do take anti-anxiety medication, but there were just times, you know, especially at the end, thinking about labor and birth and all the things. I just had so much anxiety around my labor and not being able to control it, and it happened quickly and whatnot. So this induction was going to be my way to like have a little bit of control in the situation and not be quite so anxious. And so I was like so defeated that like we weren't going to be able to be induced, that my midwife probably wouldn't be able to be there, and that my baby would just come super fast. So obviously she kind of just was like, hey, I'm going to take this into my own hands and it'll be fine. And I should have just trusted that everything was gonna be okay. So there was like a few times that like I thought maybe I was going into labor, but after my midwife appointment, I had a labor-inducing acupuncture appointment on, was it Friday? I had my acupuncture appointment. Then on Saturday, I did the Miles circuit. And then on Sunday, I did the Miles circuit on the other side. And then Sunday night, I went into labor. And so those were kind of like my labor-inducing tricks, besides like all the other normal things that they tell you to do and, you know, foods that you can eat. I just feel like none of those ever really work. But honestly, like, we're not planning on having any more children, but if I did, I would do the Miles circuit. It's like super relaxing. It just makes your body feel really good, and it's super relaxing, but also it's great for getting baby in a good position, and also for starting labor, but also for keeping labor going. So if you feel like you're having labor symptoms and you're like at the end and sometimes they fade away or go away, doing the Miles circuit can help keep the baby engaged in order to like keep your contractions going. Anyway, so I did all the things. So it was like Friday my acupuncture appointment, and then Saturday and Sunday I did the Miles circuit and some other labor inducing things. And then yeah, Sunday night I went into labor. And so I mentioned this in my video, but I didn't really know what like labor was like to just start with contractions. Like obviously know what contractions feel like, but it was just like a really weird thing for me to be like, am I in labor? I don't know this, because always before it's like your water breaks. Yep, you're in labor. It didn't really dawn on me until later. I was like, hey, my midwife said her last shift before she was going on vacation was going to be this Monday, and so I had no idea when she was working, but I was like, maybe by some miracle she will get to deliver my baby. So if you go back and watch like the first part, I already told you know, like what happened like throughout my labor. I got there, my contractions were doing okay, like I wasn't really in pain, but I know how my labor shifts once my water breaks. So I was like, to stay ahead of things, I'm gonna get an epidural before my water breaks, and you know, we'll be able to just like basically do what I had imagined, except not starting with Pitocin like I wanted to be induced with. So my baby started my contractions and we just like went with the plan. So it was like really nice to be able to like, it seemed like basically the plan we had from the start, like with getting induced, that basically that exact plan happened, except she started my contractions on her own. And so it was nice to not necessarily be induced, but still kind of get to have my sane original plan that I had imagined. I love that most of my plan, you know, had gone according to what I want. So I wanted an epidural, and I was fine with Pitocin this time around, mainly in order to like control my contractions and, like I said, to not like go into labor like super fast. Like some people want super fast labors, and I did with some of my other ones, but this one I just like wanted it to be slow. I wanted to like take my time and not have my body like go into all that intense pain in such a little amount of time, which I kind of did anyway. But yeah, you can go back and watch like the other story. But yeah, I got an epidural. Basically, they broke my water, I got Pitocin, and I had my baby. But the special thing is the midwife that I had, it wasn't my midwife at first. So you know, I always explain to like the nurses and the people there that like, oh, I've never had my midwife, and you know, I was hoping to have my midwife this time or whatever. So it turns out my midwife was working on Monday morning, and the midwife on call, so I don't know this for sure, but someone told me that if this happens, like your midwife like absolutely loves you, and a lot of the time they can put a note to say like, hey, call me if this specific person is in labor. And I don't know if that happened or if the midwife that was on call just like surprised me, but all of a sudden I was like in the middle of labor, almost at the end. I'm gonna cry. And my midwife walks in, and it was just like such an amazing and special moment for them to surprise me. And it was just so cool because, you know, one, there's just like a special bond. Like she knew all about all my previous pregnancies, this pregnancy. She knew I was expecting a girl, my first girl, and she knew I just like wanted her to be there so bad, with this being like our last baby. And it was just so special seeing her walk through the door. I just like immediately like had so much more comfort, and it was just like such an incredible moment. So what happened was the midwife must have called her to tell her that I was like almost ready to give birth. But it turns out like my midwife probably would have made it there anyway. I think her shift started at 8, and I think she showed up at like 4 or 6 or something. Oh, I think it was like 6, because she was like, yeah, she called me a few hours before my shift to tell me to come in early because you were in labor. And I was like, oh, thank you for being here. It was so sweet, because like that's not like a thing that they do. Like you, like with our hospital, you get the midwife that is there, and that's it. Like you can't like call, like they don't give you their personal numbers or anything like that. So it was just like so special to see her walk in the door. So I was telling them, you know, that I think I was ready to push, and she came and checked. I think we mentioned this in the video, but I was like an 8. And then what was it, like 5 minutes later, I was like, okay, no, I really think I have to push. And they're like, okay, well, I guess I'll check you again. And they checked me, and I was like a 10. And so my midwife was like, yeah, it's time to push. So we were a little nervous because my mom wasn't able to be there. She was there the whole time. Then she left to go deal with some stuff, and she was gonna come back. But then she kind of had like, was taking her time, because she was like, well, I think I'm gonna miss it anyway. And then Mac was like, come now, she's an 8. And so my mom was like on her way. And then like I said, like 5 minutes later, my midwife was like, okay, it's time to push. And unfortunately my mom walked in like 10-15 minutes too late, which was really sad. But when my midwife said it was time to push, I froze. Kind of. I was like in such like, I can't even like describe it. Like I want to say like a euphoric kind of state, and I was just like, man, I just like want to live in this moment, like being ready to like push out my baby. She's my first girl and our last baby, and my midwife's here, and I also just wanted to like take the time to like hopefully like wait for my mom. But yeah, it was just like a really strange feeling, because I was like, you know what, I don't know if I can push right now. I like wasn't really in pain or anything like that. It was just like, yeah, it was just a really weird feeling. But then finally I was like, okay, I think I can push now. Because normally, I mean, like you're supposed to just like push with contractions once you're ready. And it was like, I wasn't really having any contractions. Everything just like stopped. It was kind of like just such a strange feeling. So I pushed once, and then, what did you say? which you could see her, the top of her head, I think. They were like...
Oh, I could see her. She's almost here.
And then I pushed one more time, and then
her head was out.
Her head was out, and then I pushed like a half more time, I think. And my midwife was like, okay, you can grab your baby. And something that's really special about that is I got to do that with... I'm like so emotional right now. I got to do that with Josiah. He's my oldest boy. And so it's just like, I don't know, something about like the bookend kind of thing, like being able to do it with my first baby, my last baby, and just like having control over my body enough to like, I don't know, stop mid push and mid contraction to like pull my baby out of my body myself. And it's just like the most amazing feeling.
And in the same room.
Yeah, so I think Mac wanted me to mention that. I would have forgot again. Yeah, my first baby and my last baby were in the same hospital room, and it was like, yeah, it was just such, I can't. But yeah, my midwife told me I could reach down to pull her out, and I pulled her out, and I laid her on my stomach, and my midwife was like, what did she say? I can't like remember exact words right now, but my midwife was like, yeah, it looks like it's a girl.
She said, okay, let me see if there's a vulva.
She said that?
Yes.
Let me see if there's a vulva. I don't remember that.
To check.
Yeah, and so she checked that, and then Mac checked. Did you say something out loud?
It's like, it's definitely a girl.
Definitely a girl. And then like, and I think even then with them saying that, I was just kind of like, you know, out of it after, you know, just pulling her out and her being here. And I was like, are you sure? Can you check again? And then Mac checked and he's like, yeah, definitely a girl. You know, and just like all the tears. And it was just a really funny moment. That's probably the main part I wish that we had gotten on video, was me, well, one, like Mac and my midwife checking, you know, and her just being excited and like confirming that it actually, my dog, confirming that it actually was a girl, and then me being like, I don't believe you, check again, please.
You checked like 3 times.
But also the problem is like her umbilical cord is like super short, and so I had to like put her, you can't see me, I had to like put her all the way down like on the lower half of my stomach. And so it was just, yeah, it was hard for me to check too, and I was just like so overwhelmed and nervous. I had like a few dreams where like she came out and everyone was like not wanting to actually tell me that she was a boy. So I think I had those in the back of my mind too. Anyway, midwife waited a while until all the good stuff came out of her umbilical cord, and then Matt cut it, which is always fun. He did that with all 5 of our babies too, I think. It was just so special having my midwife there, and just like that moment, all of us like knowing like how, I don't know, how badly we wanted it to actually be a girl. Because like I said, I had my 38-week appointment a few days before that, and Mac and I were even like, hey, could you pull out the ultrasound machine and like just double check like one more time? And she's like, no, it's okay. Like, and just saying, you know, like, I've never had the blood test be wrong, and even only one time I had an ultrasound be wrong. And but we were just like, I don't know.
But then you came back and you watched the YouTube video, and
yeah,
like,
I was like obsessed like the last few days, the last week, that was like watching all the, like, I know a lot of people do like sneak peek, which I don't think is super accurate, but like this was like a blood hospital test, like done in like a clean, like separate environment. And you know, Mac and my midwife assured me so many times like how accurate like this blood test is, the NIPT test. But I started getting on a kick of like watching NIPT tests of people like be wrong on YouTube, and I'm like, of course I'm only gonna see those because they're on YouTube, like people are gonna want to post those anyway. But I was like freaking out. So at my 8-week appointment, we're like, how often is it actually wrong? Anyway, so my midwife knew like how badly I needed to know like immediately. And just like obviously that we were like still had concerns and trust issues. So yeah, but it was just like such a fun and special moment having my midwife there, having her deliver it, like, me getting to pull her out in the same room that I birthed my first baby, and it was just so many emotions, and it was just like such a special memory. So I just wanted to do like a little part 2 to tell you all of like these little special details that I didn't really get to talk about in my first video. I'm gonna grab her even though she's sleeping. So this is London Noel. She is 8 weeks old. She's stretching. So this little hat is from a company here in Portland called Bunny Knots, and I'm obsessed.
Bunny Knots?
Oh, my sweet girl. She has been the best baby. I definitely want to get around to posting the day that she met her brothers. My son TJ, he's our 4-year-old. He is like absolutely obsessed with her. He wants to hug and kiss her all day long.
Even when she's sleeping.
Even when she's sleeping, it wakes her up. All of our boys have the exact same shade of like brown hair, which I was born with like bright blonde hair, and my husband has like almost black hair. So it's funny that they all had like, they're big eyes. They all have like a shade of brown color. And so it's just funny to see her be our first blonde baby. But she definitely, her hair and her eyes look a lot like I did when I was a baby. I just wanted to take you guys along to share part 2 of our birth story with sweet baby girl. And so I hope to see you guys in our next video very soon. Say bye-bye. Say goodbye. Oh, big stretchies. Oh, I don't think we're gonna get a smile today.